This podcast is recorded on Gadigal, Turrbal and Yagara land. We pay our respects to the traditional custodians past and present and to any First Nations people listening.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Brand Odyssey podcast, a podcast dedicated to uncovering and celebrating creativity at its finest and not so finest. I'm Miranda L. Atom.
And I'm Kylie Hannaford, and we are from Sydney-based brand and design agency 3 Blocks Left. Each episode, we take it in turns to tell each other a story that the other hasn't heard before. One week, it's where a creative project triumphs, and the next week, one where the wheels fell off. But first up, we've got our own personal make or break. So Miranda, what's been going on?
What's been going on is a very, very wholesome weekend. This is probably peak wholesome activity, which was delightful, which starts off as positive but ends in a problem that I have now.
So a make or break double up.
It is. It's a bit of a twofer. Basically on the weekend, I went strawberry picking with Henry, Gus and Adam, and that was very nice. It's like there's quite a bit of strawberry picking around in Brisbane in September. That's when it heats up for those who are in the know. But it was only about 40 minutes away and super cute. I remember doing it as a kid, so it's something I kind of had on my list to do. I think I went strawberry and raspberry picking, which, you know, I remember finishing and having it with a pot of cream, which was delightful. You got these like fresh fruit, bright red fruit cream, and they just taste so much better.
So wholesome.
So wholesome, so cute. Giant strawberry as well, being, you know, this part of Australia. Is it only Queensland and northern New South Wales that have all the giant fruit, like the giant avocado?
Yes, but sadly a lot of them have gone the way of the dodo. It's
very
really? Sad. Yeah.
Which ones?
The big oyster, the big prawn, gone.
The big prawn can't be gone.
I'm pretty sure it is. Isn't the big pineapple gone?
No, the big pineapple's still kicking about. That was like, I don't know what it is, but being a kid growing up in Queensland, like getting to the big pineapple was just like a huge dream. I just really wanted to. I don't know what it is about being a kid, but like something about a giant anything is a bit more appealing.
I did a big road trip up the North Coast with my friends when I was at uni. We went and visited all the big things. It was so fun. And we went to all these like really obscure ones. We went to the Big Bull in Warhope, who had a pair of big testicles that you could swing on.
Amazing. I have never heard of Warhope or the Big Bull, but I'm going to put it on my holiday list now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we only went as far as the Big Banana, but yeah, it was a good time.
I have done the Big Avocado, Tropical Fruit World, and now this strawberry picking, and like I love these places. I don't know what it is. It's like that, you know, they're not shiny and new. They're like very imperfect, but you just feel very cozy and homely.
Yeah, they're nostalgic. It's that nostalgia thing. Yeah.
Anyway, so you could buy for $15 a basket or like a little punnet to pick in, and they're pretty huge. So anyway, obviously we had to get two. One for each boy. Me and Adam were just supervising. There was heaps, there were tons, they were huge, big red. They said the redder and the bigger, the tastier. So that's what we were going for. Anyway, now I have in my fridge, for some reason, I decided to do this, or knowing I was going to do this, I already had two existing punnets of strawberries in my fridge. So now I have those two existing punnets, plus probably, I think, about 500 grams each, so a kilo of strawberries extra. And we've actually got through one of them. I made on the weekend the most disgusting strawberry cake. That half went in the bin. I'm not a baker, and so like I sort of went in the cupboard and I didn't have much flour left, and I was like, no, we won't use a packet mix. I'll make this from scratch. But then I ran out of flour, and then so I was just like, oh, well, I'm just going to top it up with some packet mix. So it was like this mutant half packet mix cake, half strawberry loaf apparently. And then
all the bakers in the audience are just like screaming at their speaker.
Bakers really, they hate packet mix. Like they really want it known whenever they make something, it's not packet mix. So, and I actually think the packet mix I used was expired. So I'd just been sitting there for years.
Beta Barbie Baker.
Big time beta Barbie baker. The batter tasted nice, so that was good. And then batter, I was saying this, like, batter just makes you feel so sick, hey? Like, you just have like 2 spoons of it, and I don't know what it is. It's like there's so much sugar in there or something. You just feel so queasy straight away. Then, yeah, the fruit. So, like,
oh, we keep going.
Yeah, well, I was just going to give high detail of this disgusting cake. Strawberries kind of all sunk to the bottom when it cooked, and then just made it all like a slimy mess at the bottom. Adam loved it. He was like, this is delicious. I'm like, even Gus didn't want to eat it, and he is like a sugar fiend. Like, he was like, no, thank you. So anyway, that was bad. So I'm just going to make strawberry smoothies. I think that's going to be a better use of my skills.
Okay.
So yeah, that was my make break strawberry edition. But how about you, Kylie? What have you been up to?
I was just going to talk about a little bit of gardening that I did on the weekend. It's very wholesome, very...
Listen to us. Are we millennial?
We're definitely elder millennial. It's a title I hold on to very tightly.
Actually, I Googled this with my husband Adam the other day, what Gen Z think of millennials. And apparently they think we're all, 1, obsessed with Harry Potter, 2, I think it was a Vice article, so it's American, but they think we're obsessed with Harry Potter, obsessed with avocados, and care about growing fruit and like growing vegetables and stuff. And I was like, this is very much aligned with our stories this week.
Yeah. I mean, apart from the Harry Potter thing, it's like a tick, tick, tick so far.
Not into Harry Potter.
No, never been into Harry Potter. Are you?
This is like a beta Barbie moment as well. I read all the books apart from the last one.
I do stuff like that. It's so annoying.
It's so annoying. But I'm not into it hugely. Like, I liked the books when I was reading them.
I'm not anti Harry Potter. Like, I've seen a couple of the movies and like enjoyed them, but I'm not like die hard.
Yeah, I like the world building. I like a bit of, fantasy world building stuff, but yeah, not die hard.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's not really a story. It was just like, it was like it's heating up. I was like gardening out there. I live in an apartment. So I feel really proud that I've got this kind of apartment garden. I've hung planter boxes like along all of my windows. There's probably about like 14 or 15 of them. And so it's like quite a lot of plants you get in there. And last week I was at our clients, the Botanic Gardens, and they have, hot tip if you live in Sydney, the Botanic Gardens have a shop called Growing Friends, and they propagate all of the plants in the gardens. And so they sell them at very reasonable rates, and you just know they're going to be really, really good quality and quite unique specimens.
What did you get?
So I got some orchids, I got some fuchsias, I got some begonias.
Tell me more, elder millennial.
I know. And I got some mint and a tomato. Well, no, I got the tomato plant from Bunnings.
That's okay. I recently did the same, actually. I got a bunch of tomatoes because I actually eat them, so it's very rewarding.
It is rewarding, and I have some legacy strawberry plants, speaking of strawberries. So it was just like a really nice day, and it just made me very happy to be back in the spring sun.
I think that's it. Just getting a little bit of sun is so uplifting, especially after like Sydney's had a lot of rain. So
it's
those moments
brutal. Yeah.
can really affect the mood, hey?
Yeah, yeah.
And the mood was high. So, okay, let's get into the story.
I'm not going to make you guess this week because you would never guess it, not because you don't have the smarts, but I had never heard of this brand before. My internet wheelings and dealings brought it to my attention. It is a 1980s ad campaign that went so badly, some think it was the nail in the coffin of, as I said, the 107-year-old brand falling over and being discontinued.
I do love a good ad campaign gone wrong. It's like where we're being a little bit growing enough.
Well, you are in for a treat. So it is called the Oldsmobile. Have you ever heard of it?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So it is, or it was, peak American automobile royalty.
Really?
Yes, cars. I'm talking cars, as you guessed, which I said is very off-brand for me since I drive.
That's very brave.
I think we have discussed our car apathy on this podcast before, haven't we?
Don't love or care. I like getting from A to B at 50 kilometers an hour. That's what I like about cars.
Yeah, yeah. Neither of us are strong car people.
You're kind of dabbling in the idea of a new car, aren't you, Kylie?
Well, I am, only because I drive an 11-year-old beat up Mazda, and my sister drove it the other day and said, "You deserve better." She was like, "Not immediately, but in the next year, I think you need to think about a new car because you deserve better than that car."
That's so funny.
I have no problem with the car, but she said she found it really hard to drive and to even see out of.
I agree with her. You deserve
Really?
better. And I find your car does make me nauseous.
Really?
It's not your driving. It's like some
Well, that's what I was
going to
say. I was like, is it my driving? No.
This is very sensitive. I'm like, tread lightly, tread lightly. No, it's like some cars, and I think it's like that sedan-y style, low to the road, and kind of weirdly smooth driving, like how it drives. I think it should be put on the table.
Putting it on the agenda, yeah. So
an Oldsmobile, maybe, but as you said, I guess
sadly
they're not an option.
No, not an option. Apparently, there are a few floating around the car yards, but let's dive in. Oldsmobile was founded in 1897 by Ransom E. Olds, and for most of its existence, it was actually owned by General Motors.
I love that name, Ransom E. Olds.
I know, right? Ransom. You don't hear enough kids named Ransom these days.
No, you really don't.
Sadly.
We've got too many banjos and
way too many banjos and Oscars.
Which I will just say I previously mentioned to Kylie was on my baby name list. So thanks for that, Kylie.
Just trolling you. But you chose it. You went against it. What else is there? There's a lot of Evas, Avas.
There's a lot of girl Evas and Avas, that's true. Okay, anyway, moving on.
It's not a baby name podcast. What I have discovered actually is that right from the start, this brand was very much a pioneer and a front runner in form, function, and cutting edge technology. Set aside that it's the automotive industry and just think about it as a brand that is trialing new technologies, is a front runner on form, had a really clear stylistic choice throughout most of its life until the bitter end. A couple of cool facts. So Ransom Olds, he was actually the first one to design and implement the mass production assembly line. It wasn't Henry Ford.
Oh, okay.
He created it, and then Henry Ford stole the design and improved upon it. He added in the belt or something. I don't know. But Ransom Olds, he was the first guy to do the assembly line.
He'd be just like my nemesis, Henry Ford.
Yeah.
Stealing his thunder.
Stole his thunder and then stole his brand, bought him out. Anyway.
No way.
Yeah, pretty early on.
I'm feeling Hollywood biopic.
Yeah. As I said, it was very much about new technology. For example, in 1938, Oldsmobile was the first auto manufacturer to offer a fully automatic transmission called the Hydromatic.
Well, to be honest, I'm very appreciative of that. I can't drive stick. If it wasn't for him, I basically wouldn't be able to drive.
Well, me neither. I did 2 lessons in a manual car and then was just this is not for me.
That's very much my trajectory as well. I think I did a term of lessons and then it took me 5 goes to get my auto license.
5 goes?
I choked. I was getting the fear because of not passing on one of them, and then it just ruined.
Spiraled you. I actually delayed mine because of my dad. Got my L's at 16 as soon as you can. Got my L's, went on one lesson with dad where he grabbed the
traumatized.
Grabbed the steering wheel, sprained my pinky finger from grabbing it.
Oh shit.
And then we both we dropped mum off at a nursery or something. We went and picked her up. I was in tears. Dad's was furious. And I then didn't drive again until a couple of years later when I was 18, I got my license again.
I was 25, so you still beat me, but it's horrible learning to drive. Anyone with a manual license, hats off to those people.
I know. Another innovation was in 1974, they put in the airbags. They were the first car to do airbags. But I want to go back to the Hydromatic, Miranda. Where have you heard the word Hydromatic?
Oh, it's Grease lightning.
Grease lightning. I know.
This car could be systematic, hydromatic, ultramatic. Why could be grease lightning?
Can you believe it? The second I saw that word, I was just like, oh my God, that's what that means.
That's so funny. I guess when you like actually listen to the songs, you're not paying that much attention to the meaning of the lyrics. I never thought about the fact they were talking about car parts.
Yeah, I mean.
Just looking at Danny.
Danny Zuko.
Danny Zuko, that's right. It's funny though, I was a big Grease fan. Like that would be one of my top, along with Pretty Woman, childhood movies. Both probably very problematic.
Completely inappropriate.
I know, right? But this was okay. It was the 90s. But yeah, the lyrics of Grease now in today's age, like so problematic.
Haven't
it's
aged
just very
well.
funny to think of like 11-year-old me singing along to those songs. It's just weird.
I know. I actually, for some reason, was thinking about this recently. I was big on like performance as a child, like putting together a performance and like, you know.
And as an adult.
But, you know, we would go over to like our cousin's place and spend the day like up in the, you know, rec room kind of like crafting a performance and then at the end of the day performing it for all of our drunk parents. But I can remember doing it to like, I like big butts and I cannot lie. And like, my anaconda don't want none unless you got puns, hun. I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine our parents like watching their 11-year-old
That's so
singing
funny.
about an anaconda? Anyway.
So
no idea what it meant.
Do you know what? The pennies only dropped with me in this very moment.
What?
Anyway, let's move along. Back to Oldsmobile.
Back to Oldsmobile. Okay. The cars that they were producing in the 50s, 60s and 70s were super cool. Like I'll put a whole bunch of them on our Instagram, but like they are those cars that you see in Greece, you know, and they're a category of car which I now you know is called muscle cars.
Oh yeah, I've heard that before. It's funny.
Oh yeah, have you? Oh, you're a car expert now, are you, Miranda? Just a redhead.
Well, I'm sorry. I've heard of muscle cars.
Have you? I've never heard that before.
I recently went to a train museum that was like with my 5-year-old and 3-year-old boys, but hence why not out of my own personal interest, but I was really taken aback by the craftsmanship of like these beautiful steel, metal, and like these cars have that. I'm just looking now, like this way more beauty in the design back then, wasn't there?
Yeah, they've got this beautiful kind of rocket, futuristic space race retro feel. You know, it's like a lot of chrome, beautiful long bodies. I know. Why can't
we have a purple space age 80s car anymore? Yeah. Why can't they go back to that?
And like some of their names are called like Jetfire, Starfire, and like Rocket 88, as opposed to the GLX 200, you know, which I feel like is what we get now. Or we get like the Honda Civic or the Toyota Corolla.
Nothing wrong with a Corolla, but what they thought the future was going to look like is way cooler than what the future looks like. You know, like the actual cars. Now sometimes I see a car and I'm like, oh, that does look futuristic, and it's just like driving around among us. But if only they looked like what people in the 80s and 70s wanted it to be.
Yeah, yeah. And the 60s and the 50s. Maybe we would have been car people if we were in the 60s or the 70s, Miranda, you know?
Very unlikely.
Yeah, and yeah, and we wouldn't have been able to have one anyway because we wouldn't be able to have a bank account. So
that's crazy. I was going to say we would have just been like nostalgic about horse-drawn carriages and why we can't get about by horse.
It's true. So they are beautiful design objects, and by all accounts of what I read, they had engines to match, which is why these rev heads like absolutely loved the Oldsmobile, and they were a very loyal customer base. So the 70s and 80s were really good years for Oldsmobile. The sales soared based on these really popular designs, quite rightly, had positive reviews and this perceived quality and reliability. So they were very much sitting in the middle of the category, and their Cutlass series became North America's top-selling car in 1976 and reached an all-time sales high of just over a million units in 1985. So so they're like top of the line, we're not talking about a sad little brand that limped along for 100 years. Like nearly 100 years later, they're still at the top of their game. They're known for reliability, for quality, but also for like this innovative approach to, and contributing to the automotive industry. So what went wrong, and how did it happen so quickly? From this sales high in 1985 to just 402,000 units in 1993.
What?
To being out of business by 2004. A few things it boils down to is, just to give you the top notes, brand positioning and what is heralded as one of the worst advertising campaigns in history, alongside just some super boring, bland and boring cars. By 1988, their customer base was very much middle-aged and above. So they did reach the sales high in 1985. So in the 80s, they decided to refine their cars and make a set of smaller cars and try and carve out this new younger audience. Also, just to like set the scene, it was during this time that there was a lot of international imports. So Toyota and Honda were kind of starting to import a lot of cars into America. So they had all of that to deal with as well. So they kind of refined their cars, but took all the pizzazz out of them and a lot of the things that they were known for to kind of sink in with these new international models, which were pretty bland and boring. However, in 1988, enter the worst ad campaign possibly in history, which is pretty harsh, and I'm not sure that it is, but I did see it labeled that in a couple of the articles that I read. So
when you were Googling worst campaign in history to
yeah,
find a topic.
Exactly. The headline is, "This is not your father's Oldsmobile, the new generation of Olds."
Ah, there's the phrase you teased.
Yes.
Okay. That doesn't sound too terrible to me up front. But
Yeah.
I'm
So
sure you're going to let me know why.
I think that you're right. Like when I heard it, I was like, you can kind of see that it is certainly clever, right? You don't hate it straight away. You can see why they thought it had legs and they didn't want to let it go.
And it sort of ties in with the name of the brand.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like it's teasing with this like generational, new generation, old. It's got it in the name. You can see that it is certainly clever. There's no doubt about that. And kind of saying, the meaning of it obviously is like times have changed. We're moving on. We're not what we were. We are the future. From what I could find, from 1988 to 1991, there were 14 ads created. So they really like leaned into it over these years. And I'm going to do my best to quickly explain these, honestly, like 13 out of 10 bizarre series of ads.
So it's execution problems.
I think it's in the execution, but there is still something fundamentally wrong with the headline. So the ads feature grown-up children.
Also known as adults.
Yes, it's true. The adult children of a bunch of B and C grade celebrities. Sometimes their famous parent would appear in the ad, sometimes not. And each ad theme is based on what the B grade celeb is known for.
Okay, well that original celebrity endorsement brand, but B grade and the children aspects.
Yes. So, for example, there is Melanie Shatner.
Yeah, I don't even know who Melanie Shatner is.
Well, why would you? It's William Shatner's daughter who was in Star Trek.
Okay.
So that one is in like a Star Trek theme. They're out in the desert and kind of he gets beamed in and beamed out.
So he's in it too.
He was in that one. Yep.
Okay.
And then there's Gina and David Belafonte. Do you know who they are? No. Children of Harry Belafonte. Do you know who he is?
I mean, no. Like I feel like I've maybe heard the name. I have no idea. Actor, singer, whatever. No.
Yeah, so he's a singer. He sings that song, Day-O, Day-O. And it's in Beetlejuice, Jump in the line, work your body on time. Okay, I believe you. You're just going to keep letting me sing?
Yep. Yeah, okay, now I know those songs. So, yeah, B grade and do not know his children.
But he's not in the ad. It's just the children. And it's in this like super cringe, like Caribbean style theme. And then there's one of Jodie Serling. Do you know who Jodie Serling is?
No.
No, Rod Serling's daughter. Do you know who Rod Serling is?
No.
No, because he's a producer of The Twilight Zone, which is so obscure.
That is not famous. That's not even B grade.
No,
that is behind the scenes.
I know, right? So I'm going to play you a couple here. I'm going to play you the Belafonte one and the Jodie Serling one because they're the creepiest. But again, I'll put these links in the show notes so you can watch them yourself.
Trofeo, trofeo.
It's a new generation and we want a new horse.
Sequential port, fuel injection, anti-lock brakes.
Days come and we want a new horse.
Visual information center, handles great.
This Oldsmobile is not our father's.
New generation for the sons and daughters.
Trofeo.
This is the new generation of Oldsmobile.
You're traveling through another dimension, searching for world-class performance. You find a sea of costly imports and dull lookalikes. Then it appears, the 1990 Cutlass Supreme, with moves as sleek as it looks. The car that's leaving all the rest here in the Twilight Zone.
This is not your father's Oldsmobile. This is the new generation of Olds.
They are so left field. Those ads are so left field and bizarre. Like, I don't even know what I just watched.
I know when she goes, do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
She's like staring like blankly down the screen. It's like terrifying. She looks like she's going to threaten you.
That was definitely my favourite bit as well. Like, why did they edit that in?
So now, to be fair, there were some high-profile names that were involved. So Ringo Starr and Priscilla Presley were probably like the two most well-known.
They're very big names.
Yes, and it was their children. So it was like Lisa
Okay.
Marie and then whoever Ringo Starr's child is.
Such a strange concept.
And also you have to remember Ringo Starr, like this is 1988. It's not 1968. It's 20 years past his peak.
Crime.
The whole point is that the children of these famous people mean nothing to us, right? At the beginning of the ad, it's got to say Melanie Shatner, William Shatner's daughter. You've got to be introduced to who they are. But they're the ones that are meant to be adding the value profile and status to the car and attracting this like new generation of young people. But they're just a bunch of like C-grade Nepo-babies who we've never heard of, who aren't famous or even want to be, and they're just so awkward. And then having to identify them at the beginning, it just adds so many hoops that you have to jump through to attract a younger demographic. It just falls really flat. And it's bizarre that they like lent into it for so long. You know, for 3 years.
It doesn't translate.
It's bizarre that they didn't do just like 3 and then go, this isn't working or landing, but they really like did it over 3 years. They created 14 of them.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, you don't know who the person is. So the whole concept of not your father's, which is the headline, is not conveyed through what's happening in the ad. Like, there's a total disconnect.
Absolutely. So I have a quote here from Motor Trend, which I subscribe to now.
You never knew you were going to quote Motor Trend in your life.
I didn't. Brand Odyssey brings me so much. I'm such a more multi-layered person these days. So, quote, don't feel bad if you don't recognize Julie Nimoy, a woman who lived her life almost entirely out of the public eye before being plunked down in the driver's seat of the 1990 Oldsmobile. Forced to stare unblinkingly into the camera while piloting said vehicle through a green screen space scene, she patiently awaits her hitchhiking father Spock-like beam in to the passenger seat as the car arches through lower Earth orbit, presumably in search of the demographic this ad was aimed at.
Love that. And they're like, well, let's make 13 more of these.
Perfect. What a strategy. You know, what all these ads do also is just say what Oldsmobile isn't. You know, it puts the brand's biggest perception problem, which is that like everyone who drives an Oldsmobile is old, middle-aged, and like my dad's car. But it puts it right in the headline, saying, this is not your father's Oldsmobile. It's just like saying what you're not over and over again. It's like, doth the lady protest too much? You know, if you just keep saying, I'm not a redhead, I'm not a redhead, I'm not a redhead, I'm a strawberry blonde.
Is that from your own life narrative, Kylie?
Yes, and I've got some trauma coming through there.
But like, yeah, it's reminding us that the actual perception is that it's for old people.
Exactly.
Instead of just making it cool. Just make it cool, guys.
Find
Easier
some
said than
celebrities.
done,
Find some B and C grade celebrities that are kind of cool
But
in
have
1988. Absolutely. Exactly.
anyone from the cast of Baywatch or Beverly Hills 90210. They could have had Kelly. They could have had Valerie. They could have Brendan.
Kelly?
They could have had Steve. They could have
Andrea?
had Brian.
No, Andrea wasn't cool.
Andrea.
She was like 35.
They couldn't have had Steve either. To be fair, he was also about 40. Anyway, off topic.
Yes. So every time someone hears it, you're just reminding them that Oldsmobile is their dad's car and they're just trying to pivot. And all these celebs all the names that they're using, that they're trying to harness attention, some of them don't even appear in the ads, like the Harry Belafonte one. They're the people that the middle-aged demographic would know and love, not who the younger audience would know and love, right? So there's like no love there. So I was trying to think of a comparison, and I feel like I probably could come up with a better one, but I was like, it's like using Chet Hanks and saying, this is not your dad's Mitsubishi. Do you know who Chet Hanks is?
Of course. Yeah. Tom Hanks.
Son of Tom Hanks. Except it's even worse because Tom Hanks is an A-list celeb, right? So then I was like...
Yeah, I was going to say he's pretty famous.
Yes.
It's going to be a little bit more obscure.
Yes. So maybe I thought of Mila Jovovich. I think that might be the level that we're on.
Yeah, but who's hers?
We don't know.
Yeah, true. We don't know, but we would if it was an Oldsmobile ad.
I actually do know because I looked it up. It's called, her daughter's or son's name is called Eva Anderson. So it would just be like going, Eva Anderson, son/daughter of Mila Jovovich for Mitsubishi.
It makes no sense.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
And also like the pile on today, because no one likes a Nepo-baby, it would be
very
outrage.
Different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we're going to layer over the top that the headline, even though we can identify that it is clever, it is essentially insulting and kind of ostracizing their long-standing customer base. So, in 1985, they're kind of got this like over 1 million units sold, and then they're like going, ew, but we're not like that anymore. This is not your father's Oldsmobile. Old people are gross and embarrassing. There is something kind of insulting about it. So they're failing to attract new buyers. They're insulting their old buyers.
It's like we could be like Brand Odyssey, not your mum's podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's so funny when you unpack something because like just because something's clever and has a link, you need to interrogate it and think if that's a good or a bad thing. That's why I like doing these things, because if you really start picking away the pieces, you're like, oh, there's so many like faults that aren't obvious other than the weirdness of the ad. The ads were weird and the jingles were weird. But like when you're actually looking at the strategy, there's so many faults. And sometimes I do think those don't become apparent until it's out in the world.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh.
But then that's like the 13 ads later. Why didn't they reel it in? Good
question, Miranda, of which I have no answer. So another quote from Motor Trend, 2 Up. This is, their kind of review of the campaign. Drive an Olds and you're just like those mostly irrelevant out-of-work men and women whose glory days exist only in the rearview mirror. Want an Olds? In that case, you're doomed to a life of reflected glory, just like their do-nothing progeny. This article is just like so brutal, but I did love it.
You like a bit of snark?
Yeah, love a bit of snark. You said before now with the Nepo babies there would be outrage. But then I was like, also, would it be different because a lot of times, Nepo babies do have their own personal branding. They do have social media to launch their own brands, even if they're not like doing that much. Like what does Apple Martin, what's she doing? But she has a really strong Instagram presence, So they're sitting outside that reflected glory of their parents, I guess is what I'm saying. So like if Andy McDowell and Margaret Qualley promoted like a Kia, is that stronger?
Never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
Margaret Qualley we're not worthy. Kia is not worthy for Margaret Qualley.
No.
But also, like, that would be so weird. Like,
Wouldn't it be
that's
weird?
just never going to happen.
It would still be weird. Yeah. The problem is, and this what brings you to it, not that Kias suck. There's just a disconnect, right, in those two brands of like Andy McDowell and Margaret Qualley, and Kia. Like Kia is like trusty and reliable. And
it actually follows on from what we were saying in my celebrity brand case study of like, it's not authentic, it's not a match, it's not an extension of the personality.
Yeah, you'd be able to see right through it. If Margaret Qualley's getting in a Kia, you'd just be like, I'm going to call bullshit on that. The cars themselves do suck. So in the late 70s, the styling of the Oldsmobile started to look like every other GM branded car. So I guess they stopped leaning into that kind of muscle car, that really strong design aesthetic that they had. And so there was that influx of the international imports, like I mentioned, but also because they were a GM branded car, they just like started cutting corners and making, all their cars like look the same. And then another really important thing was that around the same time it was discovered they were putting Chevrolet engines, which was another GM brand, in the Oldsmobile because, rev heads, am I calling them rev heads? Is that the right term? Car heads, car people? They're really all about their like V8 engines, right? So to discover that they didn't have the right equipment under the hood was like this ultimate kind of brand betrayal. So nothing was working inside. They didn't have the aesthetic outside. So reputationally and like what they were trying to sell to this new market just wasn't landing. So, it would be one thing if we're like opening up to this new young innovation model, but like if it's a bad product fit, even if they did have a dynamic duo like Andy and Margaret, if the product is bad, it doesn't fit the aesthetic and message, the campaign is just going to fall over, right?
Yes, 100%. I just love your dynamic duo, Margaret and Andy for Kia. Like, but yes, no, you made a really good point on that importance of that product fit.
Yeah, thanks. So did this campaign cause the death of Oldsmobile? I don't know whether you can say that for sure, but it certainly did not help, and I think it pulled the plug, So the brand was already in decline, but the numbers are incriminating. So as I mentioned, in 1985, they had that sales high, so that's 3 years before the ads. By 1990, sales were down to 489,000. And then I think, as I mentioned, in 1993, it was down to closer to 400. So whatever the case, this particular mix was a real death rattle for Oldsmobile. So by 2000, sales had dropped by 50%. And in 2004, General Motors officially pulled the plug on the brand, which is kind of sad that this really commercially, such a rapid decline, that this commercially successful and really super innovative product lost their way and abandoned their core customer base, searching for that new shiny audience. And I think it's hard, right? Because, on one hand, you could say that they were doing all the right things. They were responding to the market. They were, there's this influx of new cars coming in. They're creating new products and actively looking for new audiences. And so there's nothing wrong with diversifying your product and your audience. And in fact, it's probably essential that you do. But, they're not actively insulting and abandoning the audience that you do have is kind of important. Also not forgetting why people love you and are loyal to you in the first place, especially if that, if you have such a strong brand promise like innovation and like this really unique look and feel, not abandoning that, but harnessing that brand equity.
Yeah, I think, like you said, like obviously it doesn't come down just to these ads, but there obviously was some people making decisions who weren't responding to feedback if it wasn't going well. So like all these like stories of brands collapses, it's a bit of a marketing mix of mishaps, isn't it?
Yeah. The way I actually found this story was I was researching another campaign which Tiffany's did called Not Your Mother's Tiffany's. So they released this in 2021. They've literally like ripped off the tagline. So it's Not Your Mother's Tiffany's. And so interestingly, At the time, it did spark similar outrage and was like, you're insulting your existing customer base. But then as I was researching it, 3 years later, it has proved to be successful. And Tiffany's are recording record profits and have recorded that like they have successfully harnessed a younger demographic. So in this case, it was part of a much bigger marketing strategy. But maybe there is something to like this agitating of your audience when you are this, century-old brand. The idea that you do need to kind of agitate things if you're stuck in a rut and you are trying to be a bit rebellious and turn the tables a little bit. So it could be something to do with they put Beyonce on as a, brand ambassador, et cetera, et cetera. But they've been successful in doing that.
It's funny though, I actually didn't know that was the perception of the brand. Hearing that makes me go, oh, is it for old people? It does to me enforce the image they're actually trying to change. So,
steer clear.
Steer clear of not your mothers.
Not your mothers, not your fathers. So I hope you enjoyed this story about Nepo-babies killing an American automotive giant.
And that's a wrap on today. So thank you so much for listening. If you have any thoughts, questions, feedback about any of the topics we covered, or we'd love to hear suggestions for any new topics, please get in touch. All the ways you can contact us are here in the show notes, or simply go to our website, 3blocksleft.com.au.
And so ends another expedition into the lands of brands, brought to you by design and brand agency 3 Blocks Left.